You are good.
Very good.
All right. Well, let me do kind of the intro. I'll then flip you around, and we're good to go. All right. Sorry, guys. Our first Zoom session here, and we just have to get everything. Yeah. Contact info. Plannersdave.com. All right. Hold on. I have to take attendance. I'm sorry about that. Hold on. Do this. Sorry, Dave. I know. All right, is everybody here? You look like y'all are here. So now,
What grade is this? Seniors?
all seniors, all seniors. Yes. All right. Now it's Fire Dave. So, what we'll do is make sure you have your yellow sheets out. And then I'll get you contact info as we move on here. So probably what we'll do is just give them a chance to share a little bit, and then we'll answer questions. Right over here. Okay, well, let's do this here. Thank you, Dave, for taking time to speak to us. I know the kids are looking forward to hearing from you. So let me spin you around, and there you go. Everybody say hi to Dave.
Hi, Dave. Hello.
Okay. Thank you for sharing with us there now that we're up and running here. So let's do this. I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself, and then why don't you take it away, and then we'll open up for some questions.
Sure. So I'm doing 3 classes today, and if we combine them all into one class, we barely have enough time to scratch the surface. So I'm going to try not to give you too much information. I'm just going to give you enough information to where you'll start questioning things. And the question is, do you want to believe or do you want to know? You guys believe a lot of things. If I told you I live in Connecticut, you can believe it, but it would take some time and effort for you to know it. So belief is the lazy man's knowing, because belief takes no effort. You read something in a book, you believe it, you write it on a test, you confirm that you believe it, you get an A, and then you move on. Doesn't mean that it's true. It just means that the person that learned that taught you the same thing that they learned. But where did that information come from? The question you have to ask is, we've all been told that the earth is a globe. It's obvious it's a globe because we've been programmed before we could even talk. Sesame Street had, astronauts on it and globes. Everything is globe programming. You cannot watch a movie without seeing a globe in it. There's globes everywhere. The question is, if something doesn't curve, then it's what? Flat. If something doesn't move, then it's stationary. All observations to prove Earth curvature and motions have proven the opposite. But they'll never teach you that in regular school. You're lucky enough to have a teacher here that's willing to let you hear some other ideas so you can think for yourself. Because school, for the most part, maybe not this class, but school for the most part teaches you what to think, not how to think. They teach you to memorize and regurgitate. I can give you a book of nonsense, tell you to memorize it. You can memorize it, get an A on the test. Doesn't mean any of it's true, right? So you have to actually take the time and effort. But if you want to be rich, I'm going to give you the trick to be rich. Invent something that makes people lazier, because people don't want to do the work. People just want a lazy way to do stuff. You know, you want a lazy way to cook? Well, to feed your family, just go out and get fast food. You don't have to shop. You don't have to cook. You don't have to clean, right? You want to go even lazier than that? DoorDash. They'll deliver the fast food to your door so you don't even have to get off the couch, right? So people tend to be lazy. But when you see that this world is more than they're presenting to you, you might be inspired to go out and actually do some work, take the time and effort. Everything I tell you today, I don't want you to believe any of it. I want you to verify all of it. But the question is, are you going to take the time to verify it? Because you guys are teenagers. You got plenty to do. You got social lives, right? When you leave school, the last thing you're thinking about is school, right? So you want to just take care of your lives. So here's the question. And Dave gave me some questions, some general questions you guys have. There's so much more I want to get into: planets, ice wall, and Antarctica. And so let's just start with planets. But before we do that, this is a top-down look at the Earth. Here's Australia. Here's South America. South America is here. Africa, United States, right? The Earth is a clock. The sky is a clock. That wherever the sun is, it's noon. So as the sun comes around, it's noon right along this line, right? That goes around once a day. That's the hour hand. It'll lap the moon once every 28 days. So the moon keeps track of the weeks and the months. The sun keeps track of the hours and the days. And if I turn on the stars will actually lap the sun once a year. So 365 times around, and the sun will slowly fall backwards through each zodiac. And that's how each month basically has its own zodiac until a year happens and it catches back up. So when you start looking into how that works in a heliocentric system, which is the globe system, right? None of it makes any sense. Let's just go over some basics before we go over to planets. So here's just a look. You guys have taken science, you're seniors. You should know that water needs containment. If you had a bathtub and one side of the bathtub was missing, you don't have containment for the water. Take a water bottle that's half full, and no matter where you turn it, the water will always lay level. The water will be level no matter what angle you turn the bottle at. Water relentlessly seeks the ultimate base level, and when at rest, lies flat. Any large body of water lies flat. The oceans lie flat. Lakes lie flat. Lakes freeze flat, right? So the containment is the shoreline of our world oceans. Think of all the world's oceans as a giant lake, okay? So all the world's oceans are a giant lake, right? And so that land needs to be higher than the water. Guess what the highest continent, a.k.a., quotation marks, continent is? Antarctica. This is the average elevation of all of the continents. And this is the average elevation of Antarctica. Antarctica is the shoreline of our world, just like a lake has a shoreline. So when people say, well, what happens when you go to the edge of flat Earth? Don't you fall off? What happens when you go to the edge of a lake? Do you fall off? No, you get to the land. And guess what? Antarctica is off limits to all independent exploration. This is a film of the shoreline of Antarctica. This is like 200 feet high. This isn't a wall, it's the shoreline. They call it the ice wall, but the Game of Thrones makes you think that it's a wall. It's not a wall, it's just a shoreline that contains our world oceans. Without containment, you can't have water. So I want to go over to planets because that's the first thing I want to talk about. So we're going to jump to that, and then we'll come back and I'll make most of this, at least more than half, up for questions. So planets, right? This just came out last night, right? Every day there's new articles. NASA discovers this, NASA discovers that, right? And you have to ask yourself, what proof do you have that the Earth is a globe? And let me tell you something. It all comes from NASA and the related space agencies. I'm going to show you, if we have time, that NASA is lying to you completely and totally. They're faking space. They're faking the International Space Station. They're faking everything. And once you catch them faking one thing, let alone 100 things or 1,000 things, you have to discredit everything else they tell you. So Planet 9 on the horizon. Scientists believe new observatory could soon spot a new member of our solar system, right? That's pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool. So let me just move this. So the question you have to ask yourself here, this is another thing that's called LIGO, where they measured gravitational waves from more than 1 billion light years away. Of course, they only show you an animation of what they observed. So I want you to think about these numbers. It's going to blow your mind because you've never dealt with large numbers, even in your most advanced math class, right? So more than 1 billion light years, the distance light travels in a year, it travels 1,186,000 miles a second times the number of seconds in 1 billion years. That's how far away they're seeing a black hole that doesn't emit light. But meanwhile, we're having difficulty seeing a planet in our solar system. Here's Pluto, our farthest planet, 3.7 billion miles away, which is 5.5 light hours. It takes light 5.5 hours, allegedly, to get from Pluto to us. And somehow our spaceship, our Voyager, snapped this beautiful picture of Pluto on its way by. And just coincidentally, NASA is literally childish. Pluto. What else has the name Pluto? Right? It just happens to have this area that's, maybe we'll just call that pareidolia, which is seeing things that aren't really there. But it's pretty interesting that Pluto has the shape of Pluto the dog on it, right? This is another one from a while ago, not that long ago. Astronomers discover a water reservoir floating in space. Now, space is a vacuum. I don't know if you guys have done any physics, but if you put water in a vacuum, it boils. It just completely turns to vapor instantly, right? So you got a reservoir floating in space that is equivalent to 140 trillion times all of the water in the Earth's ocean. So think of all of the water in all of the Earth's oceans. Could you imagine double that? Right? That's just 2 times. Then double it again. Imagine adding all of the ocean's waters, adding that amount to the Earth every second for 1 trillion seconds. Okay? You know how long 1 trillion seconds is? Does anyone know how long 1 trillion seconds is? Someone take a guess. Yell out a number. How long is 1 trillion seconds? Say again.
64 years.
64. Very close. 31,000 years. Okay. So 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. Your mind can't even comprehend that because I don't think the Earth is even that old, right? 140 trillion. So that's only 1 trillion times, right? You'd have to keep adding Earth's oceans for 31,000 years times 140, right? You can't even conceive of what that number is. So let's get this straight. Possible planet of Pluto's 5.5 light years away. We'll say, okay, it's almost double the distance of Pluto, which would just be crazy. We'll make that 10 light hours, right? 3.7 billion miles is how far Pluto is, 5.5 light years. So we'll say the planet is 10 light hours. We're say it's even farther than they're probably guessing it is, right? And we can't see it yet. But we can see a black hole 1 billion light years away. 1 light year is 5.8 trillion miles. 1 light year is 5.8 trillion miles. That's 8.76 trillion light hours versus 10 light hours. And we can see that. So you have to start to understand that NASA they're liars. They're lying. They're making up stuff. The problem is people have a lot of pride. NASA, they're going to take us to space and everything. NASA's lying. NASA's here to keep you in a prison. And that prison is the globe prison for your mind. Where do we go from here? Let's go to, hold on. Second. So let's just look at a couple other things that NASA claimed. NASA claimed this. Right, this is a photo, an image from NASA. They never show you anything. A cotton candy planet. This is from NASA. Right, you guys play with AI art programs. You think you can create that? Easy, right? Their AI is writing all of their articles, right? This is an actual video of Saturn in our solar system. Yes, there's something up there. What is it? It's a light. It's named after a god. We don't know what it is, but it's not the distance or the size that they tell us, right? So you can see this. It looks spherical, but if you look up at the lights in your ceiling, they don't dictate the shape of your floor. Let's go to hold on a second. So these are some pictures of Jupiter, right? This is Jupiter. NASA says that is Jupiter, right? Then they say this is Jupiter, right? These are paintings. NASA will never use the term photo. They'll say picture and image because they don't want to lie because pictures and images are made up. But our minds want to see what we want to see. If I said, what planet is this? What planet do you guys think that is? Anybody? Nobody? Is it Jupiter?
Yeah.
It's actually a meadow with ducks and grass, but our mind wants to see what it wants to see. So that's nothing. I mean, they do crazy stuff. So NASA, they put out pictures all the time, right? Is these pictures from NASA, or are these the bottoms of frying pans? These are frying pans. Okay. These are literally frying pans, silhouetted. And NASA puts these out as pictures of Earth. I mean, of other planets, right? When we look at stars, now you got to think about this. Stars, they tell us, our North Star. Anyone know the name of our North Star? Anybody? Polaris? Polaris is our North Star. If you go out and find it in the sky, wherever it is, it'll always be there. It never moves. It never moves day and night, year after year, no matter where you are. Polaris will never move. If you're on the side of your house and you see it right next to the corner of your house, it'll be there every single time. It never moves because supposedly we're spinning. It's at our polar, it's along our axis of spin, and it doesn't move. Even though we're going 193 million miles from one side of the sun to the other, we're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour, never to return to where we were before. Polaris never moves. They tell us it's 430 light years away. We can prove by doing some comparisons to the distance of the sun and the size of the sun that they tell us that we couldn't see Polaris at a light day away. It would be too small to see. It would be too small to see, and its light would be too dim to see, but we can see it with our naked eye. NASA makes up these things. As a matter of fact, they're thinking of changing the distance of Polaris by 100 light years, another number that's inconceivable. But they're like, well, we could be wrong about the distance. The most important star in the sky, they could be wrong about it. Right? So the funny thing is, when you search for flat Earth, you're going to get propaganda. You can search for my name. Very rarely do you find a good video of me or of anybody, but Google will feed you propaganda. You could watch a whole bunch of my videos and other real flat Earth videos, and then go check your YouTube history, search flat Earth. None of them will show up, and propaganda videos will show up. There's a massive amount of censorship on this topic because the question you're all going to ask at the end of this, well, what does it matter? I still have to go to school on Monday, right? So the truth is, once you understand where you live, who you are, how powerful you are, and what this place is, and that most of the stuff in the news that they're telling you about overpopulation and everything else is all a lie to keep you in control, to keep you on their farm. They're farming you. This is a very interesting war for the control of humanity. Let's talk about I talked about curvature, so let's talk about curvature for a second, and then I want to get to your questions pretty soon. So let's here. So this is, as I said before, large bodies of water at rest lie flat, and when they get cold, they freeze flat. Here's a reservoir or a lake, and it's about 8 miles long. We had a guy out there at night with the camera 6 inches off the ice, and he put these lights out here at 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles, and 5 miles. Now, that doesn't sound like far, but according to the globe, which they say has a radius, that's a point from the center to the surface, a radius of just under 4,000 miles, this one should be, at this elevation, over 30 feet below the curve, over 22 feet below the curve, 15 feet and 9 feet below the curve. They should be behind a physical curvature. You can't see my mouth because it's behind a physical curvature, right? You can't zoom in on it because there's a physical curvature. The globe requires a physical horizon, interesting word, horizontal eye zone, not curve eye zone, but all of these somehow pop up and appear to be at eye level. Now, the globe apologists will be like, oh, they're refracting up. This one's refracting up 30 feet, 22, and 15, and 9, and they all stop at eye level. If they're refracting up, how come they don't go above eye level? Why do they always stop exactly at eye level, right? No curvature, no ball. No curvature, no ball. People say, well, what about, the sun is another interesting one. Let's look at that real quick. Where is it? Can't go. Here we go. So here is a shot In Alouge, France, we're at this viewing spot and we're looking out at the ocean, we're watching the sunset, and there's a mountain out here 175 miles away. From this elevation, that distance, the top of the mountain, according to globe math, should be more than a half a mile hidden behind that physical curve. And you can't see it, therefore the Earth is a globe. This is the edge of the Earth, right? But twice a year, the sun migrates in between the two tropics, and twice a year, it lines up with the viewer and the mountain. And as it moves away, it starts backlighting the mountain. Now, the sun's light is strong enough to push 175 miles through the soup of the atmosphere, but the light reflecting off the mountain isn't strong enough. But here's the mountain, and right there where the mouse is, that should be over a half a mile below the curve, but there it is. It's right there, right? And it can't be refracting up. Come forward there, because the globe apologists will say, well, the sun has already set, the mountain is already below the curve, but the sun is refracting up, and the mountain that's in the dark is also refracting up and blocking the sun, right? And I say, cool story, bro, right? Because that's impossible. But here's the problem. This alone should tell you that either the Earth is flat or it's bigger, right? But it can't be bigger because all orbital mechanics are out the window. If you change the radius of the Earth, you have to change the distance and size of all of the planets and everything, and nothing would work. We have observations that would require the Earth's radius to be over 250,000 miles, when right now they tell us it's less than 4,000. That's an awfully big ball. And if the Earth is that big, I want to know what else is here. Because if it's 1,000 times bigger than they tell us, then there might be 1,000 times the number of continents. What's going on there? I'm going to get to your questions, but I'm going to talk about Antarctica real quick because you guys asked, you're interested in the ice wall, right? Which I touched on a moment ago. And the ice wall is interesting. Now, by the way, to prove the shape of the Earth, you do not have to go or speculate beyond where we're allowed to go. No one's allowed to go beyond 60 degrees south latitude unattended, unsupervised. If you try to go towards Antarctica, as soon as you pass that 60 degrees south mark, you will be attacked, be stopped by warships that will stop you. Airplanes will be turned around. You will not be able to explore Antarctica independently because they don't want you understanding where you live. Where is my Antarctica? Hold on a second. There it is. So this is people say, what about falling off the Earth? This is the shoreline. When they go to the shoreline, this is how they get things up there. I'm just showing you the shoreline here. Whenever you look up Antarctica from space, this is what you get. These are all cartoons, right? There are along the edge all of our camps. But what they've done is they've inverted Antarctica. They've taken it and they've wrapped it around a ball, right? They've wrapped it around a ball and brought all the edges together. So if you took this and wrapped it around a ball, all of this white would be scrunched up on the bottom, and that would be your Antarctica. Again, they don't want you to see that. Here, I'll show you an animation of that. So if this was the world and that's Antarctica, and we wrapped it around a ball, they say, this is where you live. This is all there is, but you're not allowed to explore this little white area. Yeah, we'll take you to a little island out here on this tip, and and that's about it. But you're not allowed to. No one's ever gone from Santiago across to Australia. No one's ever done it. No one's ever done that. Don't you think that's a little weird? Right? Billions of people have circumnavigated east and west, but zero have done it south. If I go on Google Earth on the web version and I circle a continent, it tells me how many square miles that continent is. Easy, great. But if I do it around Antarctica, watch what happens. Watch what happens. It inverts. You see this? It does. It's measuring. What is it measuring? It literally inverts, right? And the same thing if I go up to the North Pole, the two places that would tell us where we live, you can't go there physically or virtually. So we go to the North Pole and we circle it and watch what happens. The same thing. It won't measure it. But we can measure anywhere else in the world. I can measure Greenland, no problem. But the North Pole and South Pole are virtually and physically off limits, which is, I think, fascinating. All right. And then I'm going to take you to one speculation with some information, some that we found, which is interesting. Now, again, we do not need to speculate what's beyond Antarctica to prove the shape of the Earth or what's above the highest we can go, which I believe is only 72 miles. So this is a ship tracking site. You can track all the cargo ships, in the world, and we found some ships that were way inside Antarctica, 730 miles in. At that distance, they're 1.9 miles higher than the ocean, which is like, how does a ship get in there? And we found another one 905 miles in, which is 2.37 miles higher than the ocean. How does an active ship get in the middle of Antarctica, right? But if we look here, this is a map that was found in a Buddhist temple 10 centuries old. It was published in Hawaii in 1910 in a newspaper, and it shows all these continents out here. Now, remember when we wrapped it around a ball, right? So what if they were actually going out here? That would show them in the middle of Antarctica. So these are more continents out here. America, China jumping back a little bit. That ship, we looked up the information on the ship, and it was registered, very little information, to a little sandbar in the middle of the ocean called Kiribati, or Kiribati, it's pronounced, right? I had to put a pin on it because it's so small you can't see it. And they say it's our most important trade route, right? There's only a few people that live there. It's very low numbers. And they have all of these ships that go there. What is going on there? And if we look at the ships that actually go there, all of them don't have their destinations listed. They have it as either Christmas Island, which is a debate about what that means, and unknown. But you click on any other ship in the ocean, it'll tell you where it's going, where it's been, how long it's at sea. But these are very secretive ships. Maybe they're going to the outer lands, getting technology, tuna fish. Who knows what they're trading, right? Who knows what's going on? Maybe that's where we're getting our computer chips from, because the people in the computer chip factories that we've spoken to, they don't know where they're coming from. So I can go on, but we only have 15 minutes left, I think, or 20 minutes, 19 minutes. So let's go to questions so I can answer some of your questions.
Ben starts off.
You started your whole presentation with the government's lying, and we should question all this stuff that we're being taught. Why should we trust you any more than we trust our government?
Well, if you listen to me, I said, don't trust anything I said. I'm just pointing to some doors. I want you to go verify it yourself. You can do all the measurements yourself, right? If you look at, NASA, the stuff that they pull off, and you actually see from their live feeds, not mine, that they're lying about, they're faking space. It's crazy. I mean, they're saying, this galaxy exists. This is an animation of water in space. How do you have water in space? How do you have a vacuum adjacent to a high pressure of the Earth? Gas needs containment. How do we have high pressure next to a vacuum of space? And you say gravity holds it on, but I can drink through a straw. I can suck air up from a straw with the low pressure, the weak low pressure of my mouth and lungs, and I could defy gravity. But the vacuum of space, you ever see what happens when they suck all the air out of a solid steel train car, a tank? It collapses, right? And the opposite happens if you fill it with air and put it in a vacuum, it explodes, right? So we live in a physically impossible world, a spinning ball corkscrewing through space, traveling for billions of years in all different directions, and never once does anything change. If we look at hold on a second here, this is where they tell us we live, right? Oops, that's not it. We're spinning around the Earth at 66,600 miles an hour. We're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting at 66,000 miles an hour, chasing. This is NASA. This is what they tell us. We're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour, traveling 4.5 billion miles a year, never to return to where we were before. All the stars in our galaxy are doing the same thing, but never once do two stars change positions due to parallax. Never once do any two stars ever change position in all of history. They're lying. You can prove that you can't see a star at the size they claim, at the distances they claim, right? If our sun was right over our head, a mile overhead, it would fill the whole sky. Move it 93 million miles away, it's now the size of a coin held at arm's length, just like we see it. Double the distance, it's a quarter of the size. Double again, it's like a pencil eraser. Double again, it's like a star. That's 1 light hour. Make it 24 times farther, you could not see it, right? Then you take Polaris, they say is 46 times farther than the sun. So if we made Polaris 46 light days away, not even 2 months, you couldn't see it. But they tell us it's 430 light years away, right? These are things that you don't think through because they never taught you how to think in large numbers. Next.
Shrika.
Okay. So if the edge of the flat Earth, it's like surrounded by a border of ice, and the sun is rotating around the flat Earth, then why is the coldest point like the border if that's where the sun is hitting?
Right. So I think I can answer that. So let's go here. Hold on a second. All right. So here we have, let me just turn off the stars. Right. So the sun goes around. You see this line here. This line is called the Tropic of Capricorn. And on December 21st, the sun migrates all the way out to this line. So the southern continents, Australia, South Africa, South America, have their summer. And then when it goes all the way in to June, let's make it go to June. Where are we at? October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. So in June, the sun goes all the way in here, and it's closer to the inner northern latitude. So it's closer to us, right? So the sun, gets the north is having their summer, and the south is having their winter. Now, the sun is farther away from what they call Antarctica, so that's why it's the coldest temperatures in the world. In reality, Antarctica should have equivalent life and temperatures that the North has. If we were a ball, there'd be symmetry. But at 60 degrees south, nothing grows. There's no plants. There's nothing. But at 85 degrees north, significantly farther north, there's plants, animals, people. There's all sorts of stuff, right? So none of that makes any sense, right? Let me just really quickly, because relating to that is the seasons. Let me just give you a better view of that. So here we have, let's say 2 of us are outside and it's freezing, and somebody's holding a heat lamp directly over you, right? So let's pretend that's our sun. And I say, where's your sun? And you point up, it's straight up, right? So you point up, and that's your summer sun, right? And I say, well, where do I see the sun? Well, I see it there, like 45 degrees. It's very much lower on my horizon. I'm cold, you're warm because it's closer. Then over the next 6 months, the sun moves over without getting any lower. It's higher in the sky for me. It's lower in the sky for you. I'm warm, you're cold. My summer, your winter, right? The whole idea of the tilted earth causing the seasons makes no sense whatsoever, because if that was true, in June here in Connecticut, when the sun is rising, it should be ice cold because it's as low as it could possibly be on the horizon at sunrise. And it's 3 million miles farther in the heliocentric model than it is during our winter. So those two things together should make it freezing cold. But in June, I could feel the heat. I can lay down and get a suntan. All right, next.
Jack, you have a question.
Obviously, you believe that certain branches of science, such as astrophysics, are like too far gone, and our understanding to them are just completely wrong. Do you believe that there's any types of science that is we have a good understanding of what it actually is, and we can use it to progress ourselves?
Yeah, there's lots. I mean, biology. Doctors that use orthopedic doctors, awesome. I get run over by a truck, I want to see an orthopedic doctor. If I get cancer, I'm not going to see an allopathic doctor, because there are cures for cancer out there that insurance and doctors won't even discuss. So I'm not into allopathic chemical-based medicine, all based on petroleum products, which is nonsense. I mean, if you look into the history of medicine, in the early 1900s, there was all types of medicines out there, but then the Rockefellers came in and defunded all of them, funded all of the universities to go into the chemical medicine, and they made that the the way it is. If you have a certain type of cancer and there's a natural cure for it that cures 99% of the people, but you go to a regular doctor that in the DSM, which is what says, yeah, you have this cancer, here's the protocol. They have to give you that protocol, even if it kills 99% of the people. That's what they have to give you. Even if they know about the one that cures 99%, they're not allowed to tell you about it. That's messed up. So that I don't believe in. There's, flat earthers, they say, oh, flat earthers are science deniers. No, we love science. We hate pseudoscience, right? The radius of the earth. How is that? How do we come up with that? How do we find the center of the earth? How do we know what's underneath? How do we know what's inside the earth? They show us this meme everywhere, right? We can't get below 8 miles. 8 miles is like halfway through the skin of this apple. And we were wrong every step of the way when we were guessing what we were going to hit next. Then they hit an impenetrable barrier, but somehow they know the next 4,000 miles to the center. This is pseudoscience. We love science. Next.
Next question. Yeah. Okay.
What do you think is inside there?
I don't know. What's below the earth? Nobody knows. Nobody knows on the globe or the flat. We don't know. The earth is stationary. It is measurably level. It measures level. One of the questions you guys are going to come up with later, if you don't come up with it now, is, well, how come we can't see Polaris, our North Star, from the south? Well, stand under a light. And so you can measure the angle 90 degrees straight up. And we'll call that light the North Star. So in that room, under the light, 90 degrees. If you start moving away, that light's going to start getting lower and lower, and you can measure your angle. Hey, I'm 45 degrees south of that light on the other side of the room. All they did is they took perspective and they wrapped it around a ball. They're like, oh, that's because you're going over a ball. No, it's just because you're getting farther from the light. And as you go farther and farther, that light will go into the horizon and it'll merge into the horizon. Okay. Just because we're going to run out, the bell's going to run out. I got like 10 minutes left, but on my website, flatearthdave.com, if you scroll way down, you'll see a big picture of me and it says crash course. Turn off Netflix for a week and watch those videos. Watch those videos. Those are being hidden from you. And if you watch the first 3 videos, you'll watch all of them because you'll be hooked. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. The problem is it's easier just to read, memorize, regurgitate, get your grade, and then go play with your friends. That's easier. That's what most people want to do, right? But if you want to find out the truth of this world and get ahead, this world is not what you think it is, and you are way more powerful than you believe. And the thing is, you ever hear of Stockholm syndrome? They've indoctrinated people so much that they literally fight to protect their captors, right? This is my app. It's called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. I want to show you. Flat Earth, if the Earth was a globe, there would be no flat earthers. Here are the flat earthers that have my app right here, just in the United States, right? These are people that are looking into flat Earth, researching it, doing experiments, and all of them are finding unequivocally, there is no curvature, there is no motion, right? So you have to start looking, but you'll never find it by Google searching or not looking. Good, next.
Yeah. Olivia?
I'm just a little confused on that. So on that kind of phone picture, would you say that's an accurate graph of flat Earth? First of all, on the picture you're displaying.
Well, this is showing what we call the azimuthal equidistant map, which is the best map that we have. It is the map that is used for navigation. The globe map doesn't work physically. Here, I'm gonna let you finish your question, but let me answer it this way. So this is the map. It was in all encyclopedias and all schoolrooms. It was everywhere until 1959, I think, where they removed it. They took it out of everything, right? So Australia, South America, this is how navigation's done, right? If we look at flight routes, right, southern flight routes, it'll blow your mind what they do. You think about it. Here is they talk about the Great Circle Route going from California to the UK. and it does the great circle route. It goes up here, it touches South America, Greenland, and down. But if you look at it on a flat Earth map, it touches a straight line. It does all of the same things, right? And if you think about it, in the southern hemisphere, why wouldn't somebody go from here, the Johannesburg, over to Brisbane by just cutting across here? They go all the way up to Doha and down, but on a flat Earth map, it's a straight line. It's a straight line. And when you start seeing that here on a globe, New Zealand to Argentina, this is a great circle route. It goes right here, just right by Antarctica. You're not going over Antarctica, so you're not breaking any treaties. Why doesn't it go there, right? And the question is, how does it go? It goes all the way up to San Francisco, then it goes over to Texas, and then it goes all the way back down to Argentina. Does that make any sense? Let's look at it on a flat Earth map. Ready? New Zealand, San Francisco, Houston, Texas, Argentina, a straight line. Is that a coincidence? Is that a conspiracy theory? Take a look. This is what it does on a globe. That's what it requires. You can't go from here to here, which is shorter than from here to here, but it goes all the way up and over. But on a flat Earth, it's a straight line. And there's been emergency landings that cause major problems because they have to land in places where they shouldn't have landed. They shouldn't have needed to land. They shouldn't have been able to land because they weren't there on a flat Earth map. For example, here's one. A flight from Hong Kong was all going to the UK, 12-hour flight here. 4 hours into the flight, right about here, a mother traveling with her little kids and husband dies, dead in her seat. They should just land right away. Land. There's tons of airports along here. They didn't land for 12 hours, and they finally stopped in Germany. Why? Right? Because if you look at the route on a flat Earth map, they were over Russia. And if they landed in Russia, two things would have happened. Russia might have been very helpful, and that could spark world peace. That's a whole nother topic. Or people like me would say, why'd you stop in Russia? Look, flat Earth map. So they couldn't admit that they were over Russia. So they had to fly 12 more hours to Frankfurt before they could land, because that's the route that the plane takes. There's 1,000 examples of this, 1,000.
Gavin?
Bad.
How do you explain if I were to go from like South America to Australia, like southernly over the ice wall around the globe? How would you explain that?
From South America over to Australia. I would explain it that the Earth is a globe, but nobody has ever done it. Now, there is a flight from South America to Australia, which is really far. But the flight that does it, the airplane that does it, it's flown by only one of 7 military pilots. The plane itself is a special Boeing Dreamliner that has 7 layers of heat-resistant paint. It flies at over 50,000 feet where there's 350-mile-an-hour tailwinds. So it goes faster, it's in a tailwind, and the numbers make perfect sense. We actually had somebody on the plane that did that was taking compass readings, and the compass readings actually showed that he went this route. He should have just gone south and then a little bit northwest to get to Australia if it was a ball, but he went north, northwest, southwest, south. And that would be this route right here. Again, we don't have time to go into all that. On this app, there's a frequently asked questions button. The app is $3. Anybody that has Android that emails me, says, hey, I was in the class, I'll give you a free download for the app, and you can check out the frequently asked questions. You can check out all the stuff, and then take the time, research, and all of your questions are answered, right? All of the questions you have, like, hey, why would they lie? Why would they lie? Right there. Why would they lie? Or, hey, what about where does the sun go? Right there, right? Or what about ships over the horizon? And then up come all of these videos. Whoops, we'll go back to that. All the videos that YouTube is hiding from you.
Let me ask, you got a few minutes left here, but I do want to ask this question here. And in the past, you said you're not a conspiracy theorist, you're a conspiracy realist.
Analyst.
Conspiracy analyst. Could you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Well, people say because they don't believe in conspiracies, there's a conspiracy in your house. Anytime two or more people get together to benefit themselves, that's a conspiracy. Anytime people benefit together. So if you believe that politicians are all here for your good, you're very, very naive because they're all out to, benefit each other and themselves. So there's lots of conspiracies. There's lots of truth. The problem is there's so many, they're so big that people just refuse to be it. All of you guys are good kids. You're all good, right? You're all born pure, right? But when you realize how much evil's in this world, you don't want to face it. There's a lot of evil. The good news is you don't have to accept any of it. You are here with God-given free will, and nobody can take it away from you unless you willingly give it to them. So there's a lot to learn by unplugging from the heliocentric matrix, because that's a prison for your mind.
When did and David, when did you become aware? When did you realize that there was the flat Earth was reality?
Yeah, I was the first thing I was looking into is what is money? I was like, I don't understand what money is. And then I watched a show called Money Masters. I highly recommend you guys watch that. And I realized that money's fake. Money is just a made up construct, and it's owned by a private bank. The Federal Reserve is not even a government agency. It's owned privately, and they make the money and lend it to the United States at interest, which is crazy. Then I started looking into some other deceptions, and there's major deceptions. All of the things that scare you on the news, most of them, if not all of them, are deceptions. And when I started looking into that, the third year, I was doing a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. People started sending me flat Earth stuff, and I just banned them. I said, you're too stupid to watch our podcast, right? Because of flat Earth, that's ridiculous. But then finally, I was forced to look, and I looked with a closed mind. I looked trying to debunk flat Earth, trying to prove the globe. And here I am 10 years later talking to you guys. They call me Flat Earth Dave. And the thing is, when you try to learn the heliocentric system, which is the globe system, you short circuit. You're like, I don't understand that. I'm not smart enough. I don't have a degree. And you think that you're stupid. You're not stupid. It's stupid. Okay. That's why you can't figure it out. All right. You're not stupid. You're smart. You're divine. You have incredible powers. And the schooling system, not your teacher here, this guy's trying to give you an ability to think for yourselves, is trying to weed that out of you. It's trying to literally turn you into a corporate slave.
David,
When I
that's
say
about the ring here, but we want to thank you for taking time out and presenting to us.
All right, you guys can email me at Dave at flatearthdave.com if you want the app for free, if you want to look further, or just go to my website, flatearthdave.com, and go down to the crash course, watch those videos. See ya.
That went very well. Lots of good questions. Kids were very interested. One more question. Okay, we have a question here from a student.
Yeah, bring it on.
Hi, my name is Arik. I just had one little question about that little world clock you have right behind you.
Yep.
I was just confused on how like the sun creates like a little semicircle and how there's a straight line going completely across.
Yeah.
When
let me answer that, but so you have time. So right now, if you look at the sun, it's over. I can even stop this. It's over the equator, which is the red line. And so we believe that there's some sort of dome around us. So the light is reflecting off the dome and creating the line. But watch, I'm going to change it from month to month and watch what happens. Right. And this is according to time and date. So right now we're in the equinox month, September, October, right? November. Look at it's going out towards the wall now. So it's wrapping around. November, December, January, February. No, we're in March. Sorry, March. So there's the equinox month again. April, May, and June. Right? Do you have 30? Do you have 60 seconds? I'll show you something.
I can ask Mr. for pass to my next class.
Okay, so
it's not very far.
Yeah, let me just show you this real quick. So
it's digital design.
This is yeah. So here is the Gleason's map, right? Every year, a couple on certain days of the year, the Earth is lit up. This is from the Weather Channel. More than half, right? If you have a ball and a light, can only light up half of it, but more of it's lit up, which is impossible. Impossible. So let's look at this, right? So this is here, all right? So this is August 13th. August 13th, we have all of this is in daylight, right? So South America, right? If you look at that on a ball, it doesn't make any sense. So here is where the sun was. We're going to put our light there, and we're going to lift it up, and there it is. The same areas are lit. The only thing not lit is Australia and these islands over here, right? And if we try to look at that on a ball, right? Now, this is hard to show you. And we try to light up the same area. So we got Australia. We'll put Australia right in the dark, right? Just like it was with that light. And then we go around to the other side, and look, all of South America is in the dark, right? The ball says South America must be in the dark. So if we move it, so we'll go back and we'll say, okay, South America is in the light, so let's move it. We'll put South America in the light, just like it was there, like that light was showing. And we'll go to the other side, and you'll see that all of Europe, all of Russia, all of that is in the dark, and it should be in the light. It should be in the light. And so if we look at it here, it only works on a flat Earth. It only works on a flat Earth. This is the circle here, and this is what we see. Observational reality matches the flat Earth map.
I just want to say thank you very much.
All right, I encourage you, watch those videos on my website. Watch
I will.
them. Watch them.
I will.
All right.
All right. Let me, we got class coming in. Let me just go ahead and take attendance, and we'll get started. But yeah, it's good. A lot of questions. Kids are very interested. So hopefully that went well for you.
I'm gonna go to question and answer sooner on this one.
Okay. And I just asked at the end there because I thought that's always
No, please do. I love
always
it.
curious about that. You know,
I love
how
it.
did hopefully that worked out. Okay. So just give me a second here. Get the bell. We'll get going. All right. Okay, well, let me do a quick intro and we'll get started.
Don't forget to take attendance.
I did take attendance, just did it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Today, we have Ethan's birthday today, so congratulations to Ethan. Everybody had a good weekend. So I want to turn it over to Flat Earth Dave as quickly as possible. It's a lot to share. It's going to open up for a lot of questions. So as you're listening in, just make sure questions. Okay. All right. Well, let me do this here and turn us over. Thank you, Dave, for taking time out of your schedule to chat with us. Everybody say hi to Dave, Flat Earth Dave.
Hello.
So let me turn it over to you and go ahead and share.
All right. So as I said before, if all these three classes were combined into one, I had all of the time, we'd barely be able to scratch the surface. I don't want you to believe anything I'm saying today, because I'm going to tell you not to believe other people. You need to verify everything. I live in Connecticut. You can believe it or you can know it, but knowing takes time and effort, and you'd rather play with your friends and do what you like to do than research. So, people are generally like to be lazy. So if you can invent something that makes them lazier, you'll probably be very rich, because people love the easy way to do things. And in school, the easy way to do things is not question what they're teaching you, is to memorize it, regurgitate it, get the A, and then everyone's happy, right? But if you are reading a bunch of nonsense, that your teacher read and memorized and regurgitated doesn't make it true, right? You're lucky enough that you have this teacher here that's letting you get exposed to people with different ideas than what the schooling system has, and allowing you to think for yourselves, because school generally teaches you to memorize and regurgitate, doesn't teach you how to think. They teach you what to think, right? Can I ask you guys to raise your hands if you think the Earth is a globe? Okay, most of you, if not all of you, think the Earth is a globe. There might be a couple in there that might be questioning it, but you'd probably be afraid, since everyone else raised their hand, not to raise their hand. So I'm going to ask you, when I go to you guys, I want your best proof that the Earth is a globe, and then I will address that. So I want you to come up with, why do you believe it's a globe? And you can't say, because that's what I was told, that's what I read. You know, you can't. You need to come up with a reason. And you have to remember, if something doesn't curve, then it's flat. And if something doesn't move, then it's stationary. All tests for curvature and axial rotation of the Earth have failed and proven the opposite, right? So the Earth at the equator is supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. 1,000 miles an hour, because it's just over 24,000 miles around. It spins once a day, so you're moving 1,000 miles an hour, right? 1,000 miles an hour, right? Here's a balloon at 120,000 feet. Here's the sun. It's right there. Kind of doesn't look much higher than the balloon. It's got a hot spot, which means that it's local, because if it was 93 million miles away, like they tell us, it would light up everything equally. But it's lighting up right here. It's interesting, right? The balloon was up there for 3.5 hours spinning to the east. It should have landed 3,500 miles west of where it took off, but it landed east of where it took off. The Earth is spinning this way. The balloon went up and it landed in front of the spin. How did that happen? Right? Unless the Earth is stationary, right? So when you think of flat Earth, you think of stuff that Google feeds you, like this. This is a false model of flat Earth, right? Only globers think that that's flat Earth. People say, well, what is the Earth flat? And all, you know, they're the only pancake out there. This is a false flat Earth and a false heliocentric model. So you have choice, red or blue. Which one do you want? Right? They're both wrong. They're both wrong. Okay. You know, when you see flat Earth, they'll show you stuff like this. Oh, it's like this. It's like a turnip pulled out of the ground. Nope, that's not flat Earth. There is no edge. Is there an edge of a lake? If you go to the edge of a lake, do you fall off the lake? Right? What if the Earth is like this? You guys have taken physics? Any physics? I would assume water needs containment. Gas pressure needs containment. How do we have water on a ball surrounded by high pressure gas adjacent without a container to a vacuum of space? If you had a bird cage filled with air, right? Bird cage is filled with air. Of course it is. And then you go in a room and suck all the air out of the room, the bird cage is not going to have any air in it either. If you had a lucite box sealed with air and you go in a room and they pump all the air out, the box will still have the air in it because it's sealed, it's contained. The air around it is the vacuum of space. Put a hole anywhere in that box, it will violently fill the available space. Violently fill the available space. How is that possible? And you say, well, gravity is holding it down. Well, gravity, they say, is stronger right here close to the Earth, and it gets weaker as you go up higher. So you got the weaker gravity up high adjacent to the vacuum of space, which is a Torr 17 vacuum. We can't even create a vacuum that powerful on Earth, right? And it can't suck the air away. But down here where gravity's stronger, I could take a straw and with the weak low pressure of my mouth and lungs, pull air and water away from the Earth. That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all, right? So water needs containment. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. Antarctica is higher, more than double any other continents, right? If we look right here, this is the average height of Antarctica. Here are the other continents. And it is the container of our world. It's the container of our world pond, if you will. Okay, so large bodies of water at rest lie flat. That's provable. Absolutely 100% provable. This is, here we have a flat thing and I bend it, right? We got a light down here and it When it's flat, it shows you what the sun looks like on the water towards sunset. But if the earth was curved, it wouldn't look like this. This is what we see because water lies flat. It's testably, measurably, provably flat. Now people say, well, the earth is bigger than that. It's bigger. It's bigger and you can't see the curve, but they want you to believe that you can see boats go over the horizon, right? They want their cake and eat it too, right? So let's just look at a boat over the horizon. Now let me ask you a question. Can my finger hide my entire face? No. But if I brought my finger out here, it sure could. All right? So you have to remember perspective works in all directions. It works top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, and back to front, which they don't teach you in school. Right? So here we're zooming in, and out here, are there any boats out here? This is the edge of the earth, right? Because the earth is a globe. Right? Are there any boats here? We're zooming in, and what we're doing is we're increasing the angular size. And as we do, all of a sudden we go, oh, look, there is a boat out there. Look, there's a sailboat out there. And as we zoom in, we can see the whole boat, right? So if my finger is a wave right here, so my finger is a wave in the foreground, as it goes out, it'll hide the boat from the bottom up. The boat looks like it's going over the horizon, but it's not. It's right there. And if that boat went farther, it would be hiding behind those little waves that are in the foreground. Follow me? It would be hiding beyond those waves in the foreground. So let me show you something you like. This one. Here it is. So here we have the same thing. They say, oh, look, this is the horizon. And we look out, we zoom out, we zoom out. We zoom out, the angle of our attack is getting worse and worse. And all of a sudden, this is the line that we call the horizon. What are these things out here? These are dolphins that are miles beyond where we're seeing this line. So if the earth is a globe, they're jumping up over the globe going, hey, look at me. Hey, look at me. Hey, look at me. They're jumping up from behind the curve. Or is this just an optical thing, right? The problem is, you can see different distances on different days from different heights and stuff, right? But the globe requires a physical horizon. Do you know how far that physical horizon should be if the earth is a globe and you're looking out over perfectly calm water? Perfectly calm water, because if there's any waves, the horizon will be closer. But perfectly calm water, a 6-foot tall person standing at the edge of the ocean looking at perfectly calm water, that horizon, that physical horizon, should only be 3 miles away, because according to globe math, there's 6 feet of curvature in 3 miles, 66 feet in 10 miles. But we can see boats and land and people on beaches 10 miles away. They should be 60 feet below the curve, but we can see them. And then you look up Google and say, well, why can we see them? They'll go, oh, refraction. They're magically refracting up and stopping at eye level, right? Not true. It's just a, I mean, they make up excuses, excuse after excuse after excuse, for why we see things. So I'm going to show you something a little advanced here. Hopefully you guys can get this. So this is my front back perspective. Let me just get it 1 second. So the distance between this arrow and this arrow looks to be more than the distance between this arrow and this arrow, right? It looks to be more, right? But if we look, here we got the shoreline, and then I'm pointing out here at this island approximately, and then this one's pointing at New York City. I'm in Greenwich, Connecticut, okay? From here to here is 1/4 of a mile. From here to here is 25 miles. This is how perspective works from back to front. Just like the sky comes down and the ground ramps up to stop at your horizontal eye zone or your horizon, right? So if we look, I got a boat here and I bring it out, it gets smaller. It gets smaller here. Now from here, every time I go 1/4 of a mile, this boat's going to get tinier and tinier equally. It's going to get smaller and smaller, but in my depth of field, it's got to do that 100 more times. It's got to do this reduction 100 more times. Do you think you're going to be able to see that? No, it's going to disappear into the horizon. Into the horizon. Right? So people say, well, how does the sun set over the water? How does the sun set? Right? It sets like this. There's a sunset. Here I got a coin. I got the camera slightly below the table edge. But here's the thing. This horizon here isn't at your eye level ever. You never see the horizon at eye level. It's thousands of feet above your eye level. Thousands. Thousands of feet. Let me show you what I mean. Also, you have to understand how our perception works. Can anyone spot the skyscraper in this image? There's a skyscraper, 50-story skyscraper. Can you see it? Anybody? How about now? Here we are in a city looking straight up at the noon sun. Straight up, right? But my perception, the way I designed it, you don't know what you're seeing until you know what you're seeing. So the way we see it, we have to interpret what reality is. So we're looking straight up. We're in the city. And the sun is moving 12:30, 1 o'clock. Is the sun below the horizon or is it beyond the building? What do you guys think? Below the horizon or just beyond the building? Beyond the building, absolutely. How could we see it again? I can go up higher or I can go backwards, right? I can go backwards. I can go beyond. I can go backwards so the building is, I have a better angle and I can see the sun again. So here's a perspective grid, right? You guys they used to teach us in art. I don't know if they still do, but here's this guy's eye line right here. And I'll put this mountain here. And let's say this mountain is 3,000 feet above his head. So up here is 3,000 feet above his head. Here we got the sun. The sun's just going to go away. Is it below the mountain or is it beyond the mountain? Beyond the mountain. It's beyond the mountain. How could he see it again? He could go backwards, right? So if he goes backwards, 25 miles, let's say, the top of that mountain now looks to him to be at his eye level. But whether the earth is flat or a globe, it's still 3,000 feet above his head. Right? It's still 3,000 feet above his head, but he perceives it at eye level. And as the sun goes away, is it going below the horizon or beyond the mountain? It's doing the same thing. It's going beyond the mountain. Let's add the clouds. You got the mountain 3,000 feet above his eyes. These clouds, thousands of feet above the mountain, they're all merging into this line also. So all of these clouds over here in this horizontal eye zone are 3,000 feet plus another 5,000 feet, 8,000 feet. This line right here, this opaque line is 8,000 feet above his eye line. He sees it at his horizontal eye level, horizontal eye zone, and the sun just goes beyond it and takes its light with it. It takes its light with it. And it goes away. The sun is a local light, right? The sun is a local light, right? Here's the sun. Are you falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound? Or is this light just moving away from you? It's just moving away. I'm looping it back and forth here, right? You have to believe, if you're on a heliocentric model, that you're sitting at the beach, falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound, adjacent to a space vacuum, orbiting and twirling in 4 different directions at once, and you can't sense any of it. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's go to your questions.
So just to clarify then, so are you suggesting then that rather than the Earth revolving around the sun, that the sun is stationary and the Earth is also stationary?
No, the Earth is stationary, and the sun and the moon and the stars are the only thing that move, right? Let me show you. So here on my app, right? We're looking straight down, and we have the sun. Wherever the sun is, it's noon. The sky is a perfect clock. The sky is the most accurate clock. If you think about the most accurate Swiss watch in the world, it's not as accurate as the sky clock because time is based on the sky clock. That's what time is. So every time the sun goes around, it's 24 hours. So the sun keeps track of the hours and the days. See the moon right here? I'm going to speed it up, right? The sun is going faster than the moon. So it'll lap the moon once every 28 days. Wait a minute. Why is it going backwards? Something's going on. All right, whatever. The sun laps the moon once every 28 days. Right? I actually have a test version on the app here, and it's backwards. And so the moon keeps track of the weeks and the months. And then the stars, which are fixed in their position, and we can prove that, they're going faster than the sun, so the sun will drift backwards, and it takes a year for the stars to lap the sun. So the stars that are right here, it'll take 365 times around for them to lap the sun. So imagine these are guys in a road race. The sun is just going to drift backwards slowly. So the sun will be in each zodiac for the course of a year. If you look at in the heliocentric system, we are corkscrewing through space in all these different directions. All the stars, they say that 80% of the stars in our solar system are binary, which mean that they're going around each other while going around the galaxy, right? And then we're doing our thing, traveling 4.5 billion miles a year. But never once do two stars ever cross position due to parallax. Every star is in the exact same orientation it's always been through all of time. That's impossible. That's absolutely impossible, right? And let alone the fact that, stars are gas in space, right? Remember we were talking about the gas box? Open it up, it immediately fills the available space. How much gas do you need before gas contracts upon itself and turns into a star? So you put gas in space, it's going to fill the available space. Put a ton of gas in space, it's still, how much gas do you need before it collapses upon itself and makes a burning star? Our sun is supposedly one of the smaller stars. It burns like 100 billion tons of fuel a minute, an hour, or something like that. 100 billion tons for billions of years, and it hasn't gotten any smaller. And it's burning gas in space, right? This is all pseudoscience. This is all pseudoscience. I just, because when I get to you guys, I'm going to get to you guys in just 1 second. Let's just go over some NASA stuff, and because the only proofs that you're going to have come from NASA, right? They come from NASA. So this is a scene on the International Space Station, and something happens and it reveals the green screen. He's got a green screen. Why does he have a green screen behind him? Right? And people say, oh, that you don't understand cosmic rays. And then this guy glitching out, look at his hand. There's his hand right there. Right? This is showing that they're using video layering and green screens. Right? This guy, this is a submarine. It's got this metal door. This tortilla is going to separate them from the vacuum of space. That's the door. That's the door on the International Space Station. How's that even? This is the Chinese space station. He's got a glass of water on the table. How do you have a glass of water on the table? They did an experiment with this later, so we know that it's a glass of water, right? This is one where everything brown turned blue and everything blue turned brown, showing that they're using a green screen or a blue screen. And they're having issues. This guy, they're always playing on the space, and his head goes out, and his head, it's a little hard to see, goes out of the green screen area, and his head gets cut off because it's out of the area he's supposed to be in. Right? This is just showing you NASA fails. So if they're faking one thing on space, they're faking everything. This is also hard to see. The reflection in the ball is wrong in the water globule. They're always playing with water. They have all of these electronics all around, but they're always playing with water in space, right? They're always playing with water in space. They always love doing their back flips, right? So these guys were coming in, and they're coming in, and you could see the wire get pulled. Wait, this one might be a little hard to see here. Watch the wire. There it goes. It pulls right there. You can see it pulling him backwards. I'll show you some better ones because till you have a good eye for this, it's hard to see. This is one where they were doing a live stream and the guy just appears. Now, how does that happen? On a live stream, he just appears. He just appears. So is this a real studio or is this a green screen studio? Right. And then this one, just same one. He just appears. Right. And then this guy just appears and fades out. So that tells you they're not showing real stuff. Right. And then in 1999, they all got Christmas hats. How cute. How cute. And then in 2023, the Christmas hats they realized that there's no gravity. Right? Gravity on. Watch the balls. Gravity off. Right? It's like they can't even keep their stories straight. You know, they go on spacewalks, and somehow they get the wrong shoes on his feet. He's got his left shoe on his right on his left. I don't think that would even be possible when you're trying to keep the vacuum of space from the vacuum of space from sucking all the air out of your suit and you dying instantly. Here's Kamala Harris talking to them in the space station, and why they're talking, this guy's playing with this wire, okay? And watch it go right through his wrist, right? They're always playing with something to dazzle you, from the nonsense they're talking about. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Watch the wire right through his wrist. It goes right through his wrist. So they're showing you that this isn't real. Watch, the wire comes through his wrist. There's no arguing. There's no nothing. It's going through his wrist, showing you it's not real. That's all you need. That's all you need to understand that they're faking it completely, right? Right. This is where they do their training for spacewalks in the National Buoyancy Lab. And often we see during their spacewalks bubbles floating around in different directions, right? They're filming underwater. But while they were doing a tour of this one day, the people there were filming and they caught the green screen right there. Why do they have a green screen in the pool if they're just practicing maneuvers, right? It makes absolutely no sense. One more, and then I'm going to get to your questions. Right? They were happy that the dragon capsule got up there, and they brought some fresh fruit. They had a lemon, and they were playing with it, and they were throwing it around, and he went to grab it. Is that a real lemon? Watch carefully. Watch. You could see it through his hand. This is called augmented reality. Augmented reality. All right. I'll show you an example of that. This is a ball filled with helium. It's real. Look here. Whoa, where did that come from? Now she's playing with an augmented reality object. And they even beamed it in with a little Star Trek beaming because they have kids watching this. They just want to capture their imagination. This is how they do it. And it's just real-time augmented reality. There's actually programs you can get now to do these same things. But NASA is, way, way ahead of us. Right. And then a lot of times they do stuff hanging on wires, green screens. And then they also do stuff what's called the zero-G plane. It's a plane that does a parabolic arc. And you get about, a minute or so of weightlessness. And if you look here's this guy going around the corner. Watch, I'll show again. As he goes around the corner, he fades out. Right before, because there is no it's only one tube. There's no right-hand turns. So look, they faded him out. You can see, look at this barcode or whatever this is on the wall. You can see through him. Again, layering. They're layering. I have 1,000 of those in the NASA nonsense section of my app. There's tons if you want to see more, but let's go to your questions.
All right, it's time to open up for questions. What questions do you have? Let's start off with Evan.
If NASA is so advanced and far ahead in technology, then why are they so bad at video editing?
Well, they're not so advanced, and actually, there's two ways to look at that. One is a thing called revelation of the method. Because we are beings here in a divinely created world where we have free will, they are required to tell us. Some people believe that. I believe that they're required to tell us the truth. And if we're too stupid to see it, that's our problem. And the other thing is maybe they're stupid. Maybe they are not that smart. I don't think they are that smart. And they do this stuff either because they're stupid or because they want to see how stupid we are. They want to see who will notice. I ask you guys to look up Don Pettit Don Pettit, who's an astronaut, we can't go to space again. Why we lost the technology and we have to rebuild it. You listen to this guy talk, right? Supposedly for astronauts, there was like 40,000 or 4,000, whatever the number of applicants, and they picked Don Pettit. The guy is literally on the spectrum, right? You look at fighter pilots, right? You know, the guys in the military, these guys are top notch, smart. This guy is right next to, you know, needs to go to a special school. And so they actually pick astronauts with, you know, with low IQ scores so they can get them to do ridiculous, stupid things. Next.
Next question here, Atlas.
All right, so you're actually wrong with the fighter pilot thing. I've actually met some Marine Corps fighter pilots. I'm in the program to go and become one as well. There's a lot of guys who are on the spectrum, like with autism, or they have ADHD, stuff like that. They have like neurological difficulties in comparison to some of the rest of us. But I don't think that NASA's just trying to appeal to like people who have kids on the spectrum or people who just are on the spectrum in general. I think the guy was actually a good applicant in total, you know?
I hear what you're saying, but you got to watch Don Pettit's interviews. He doesn't know anything. He was talking about he was showing the capsule where they look out at the Earth. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. And the guy asked him, he goes, "What if there's a leak?" He goes, "You know, how do you patch the leak?" And he goes, "Well, if there's a leak, there's a leak. I'm sure there's some sort of procedure." I mean, he's the guy that's in charge, but he doesn't know the procedure, right? If you watch enough interviews, you'll see that this guy is just an actor. He's an actor, not. Nobody's been to space. That's the problem, because space is not what they've told us.
Why do you think we haven't been on the moon?
Because the moon is a local phenomena in our atmosphere. It's not a place you can go. I don't think the moon that we see is actually a physical place. And you can prove that it's close by looking at the moon on a full moon night, you know, or close to full moon where you got a nice bright moon and there's some clouds in the sky. You can see you can see that the moon is very close. Is very close. If you look at, you know, here's some different ways of looking at the moon, different lenses, you know, infrared and stuff. And where is the other, the heat signature? Where's the other part of the moon? How come there's no other part of the moon showing? So I'm trying to find out here. This is, you know, the moon is supposedly reflecting the sunlight. Well, here I am, close to noon, next to this ball. How come that's not reflecting light so bright I could read by it and cast my shadow on the ground? But this dusty, dirty ball, 238,000 miles away, is casting light. How does this cast light when you have to take into effect the inverse square law of light? Every time you double the distance to a light, it's a quarter of the brightness. This should be mind-blowingly bright, and this should be just a dim reflection in the sky, but I could actually read a book by this light. This book will actually cast my shadow on the ground. So here is, this is what I'm talking about. If you see the moon, why is the moon only lighting up these clouds here and not these clouds over here? If it's 238,000 miles away, it should light them all up if it's sending the light over.
All right, Neil.
I have a question. So you believe that the Earth is flat. Do you believe that the other planets in our solar system are flat, or do you not believe in the other planets at all? I just question.
Yeah. So the question is, why do you believe in planets? Because the only one that's ever told you about planets is NASA and Disney. And I just kind of showed you that NASA is lying. The more you look into it, you'll see that they're lying about everything. And then again, if we look at planets, you know, I'm just trying to find something real quick. If we look at you know, the idea of other planets, it makes absolutely no sense in what we're seeing. Like we could see Jupiter. Like, go out and look at Jupiter. It's the brightest light, it's the brightest star looking thing in the sky. It's brighter than any star. It's, only next to the moon, it would be the second brightest. But you have to believe that that's a gassy giant 400 million miles away. So if you were on Jupiter, if you could be on Jupiter, you looked at the sun would be tiny. So you got a tiny sun reflecting off of a gaseous planet, and that light is going 400 million miles to Earth, and we see it as bright as the sun. It literally is. It's as bright as the sun. It's just smaller, right? So that's an impossibility when you actually think about that. And this is a false dichotomy, a false flat Earth and a false heliocentric world. We don't believe that the Earth is a disk floating in space. The Earth is the basement of the universe, right? The Earth is the floor of the universe, if you will. And there's, we don't know what's below it. Nobody knows because nobody can get down low enough. This is, large bodies of water at rest need containment. Antarctica is containing our waters. And here is, Australia, South America. This is our world, right? Again, curvature has never been measured. Motion has never been detected. None of the stars ever change positions. The stars are fixed in the sky and they're local, they're small, they're close, and they're all at the same focus. It's kind of fascinating when you start looking into it. Next.
Nikki, you had your hand up.
Yeah. In the exact photo that you're showing, if Antarctica is supposed to be what is containing our water, in that photo, there's something beyond. What is the beyond of Antarctica that contains our water if the Earth is not a disk, but that is the border rim that is containing our water?
Yeah, great question. So if you look at Antarctica, if you look at this picture as this is a lake in Kansas, right? Let's just pretend we'll shrink it down. This is a 100-mile wide lake in Kansas, and you're on that lake, right? And at the center of the lake is a island with a small mountain on it, and it's a magnetic mountain. So you got your compass. The compass is going to point to the center of the lake, right? So now you're 50 miles from the shore. You can't see the shore. You can't see the center because 50 miles, you can't see anything because everything's just too small and too far, right? On a lake, right? And so if you follow your compass west, you'll go like this. You'll go west all the way around because your compass is always going to be pointing towards the center, and you'll end up right back to where you started from. You could say, this lake is a sphere because I just circumnavigated it heading west. I could head east all the way around, right? Because the compass is always pointing towards the center, end up right back where I started from. I just circumnavigated this lake. It must be a sphere. Now I can go from Australia, I can go north, and then I could pass the north, and I can go south, and I can go to here. Okay, great. Doesn't prove anything. Can I go south and then pop up over here and go north? Nobody's ever done it. 0 people have ever circumnavigated south. Billions and billions have done it north and west, but nobody has ever done it south, right? They said that there was this one world, this flight that went around the world. So it went from the North Pole down here through East Coast and South America to the South Pole, and then up here by Madagascar and up through Russia and back. And they said, wow, that actually proves that we've circumnavigated the world. But if you look at it on a flat Earth map, that's all they did. They just did that. And they said this is a world record circumnavigation. They just did a lap around this flat plane.
Let me get Dylan in here.
So if like the point of it is about control, like seeing what you can convince people of, then why did people in like the 1600s, whenever they were starting to question the church's model of space and the earth, why were they persecuted, and why were they sharing those ideas of the heliocentric model before things like NASA video editing?
Well, so you're believing your history books, and that's one of the biggest lies of all. I want you guys to write this down. There's a channel on YouTube, on BitChute, on all the platforms, but on YouTube you can find it. It's called My Lunch Break. Okay, and he does these 20-minute videos showing you how all of our history is a lie, and it's right in front of your face, probably in your own city. And you can see these old world buildings that are still here from a very advanced civilization that was here just a couple hundred years ago. They tell us that, a couple hundred years ago, we had horse and buggies and we were discovering things. That's true. We had horse and buggies, but that's when we repopulated this world. Again, better than that, on my website, flatearthdave.com, scroll down, you'll see a black and white banner that says Old World Order. Turn off Netflix, watch that video, and it will change your life. You'll understand that there was an advanced civilization here. And then as far as saying that the people 1600s, did whatever, you don't know what they did. You don't know what they did 150 years ago. We have no evidence of any of our history. They're lying about everything, right? During the Wild West, the cities were already here. San Francisco was already here, right? So they're destroying our old world in front of us with these wars that are going on. And they're taking away all of the evidence, but there's so much evidence everywhere, right in front of everyone's face. Watch Old World Order, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, it's on my website, flatearthdave.com. Another thing is I interviewed a 102-year-old woman in 2020 about the world's fairs that were going on, which they never teach you about in school because God forbid. And she said that she was taught in public school in Connecticut in the 1920s that the earth was flat. And then we found other people that said all the way up to the 1950s, they were teaching flat or globe, we don't know. And then in 1959, they pulled the Gleason's map and they changed all the stories. This is all being controlled by the Rockefellers who control the education system. And they're the ones that put out the textbooks and no one is allowed to compete with them. And, your teachers, good ones like Dave, will question some things and let you hear people like me speak that might inspire you to go do some research on your own. But others just follow the curriculum because they just want to do their job and get paid. They're the good order. They're order followers. They're not bad people. They just memorized and regurgitated the nonsense and they're teaching it to you. So not everything you learn in school is nonsense. This class is not nonsense, but there is a lot of nonsense out there. Your history class is pure nonsense. Sorry, history teacher.
No. I'm being enlightened. Atlas and then Neil.
Okay, so if the moon isn't real, then how do the tides work?
Yeah, so on my app here, if you go to the frequently asked questions, and by the way, the app's $3, but I'm giving it to any of you that have Android phones for free. You just have to email me, dave@flatearthdave.com. Say, hey, I was in the class, send me the link, and I'll give you a free download. And then you go to the tides section, right? The tides, where does it say tides? Tides is, what about tides? Right here. Boom. And there's a bunch of videos that you won't find on YouTube, but I'll explain. Think about this. So the sun and the moon supposedly pulls on the tide. So you got the globe, you got a full moon, and during our full moon, we have the highest tides. During a new moon, we have the lowest tide. We don't have as high tides. But think about it. During a new moon, the moon's still there. The gravity is supposedly still there, but it's in front of the sun. So you got the sun and the moon pulling on the water. It should be the highest of high tides, but it's not. And the tides aren't correlated to the moon. If you go to, let me show you. I got a thing right here. There's a thing called tidal nodes. They're all over the earth, and there's all these spots where there's no tide, and the high and low tides circle around them. It does not correlate to the moon at all, right? Why is there higher tides when the moon is full? It's because the tides are electromagnetic in nature. The salt water carries the current, and the sun and the moon are the anode and the cathode of our electrical system where we live. We live in an electrical world. You are an electrical being. This world, everything is made with electrostatics. That's what causes things to go down, electrostatics. But the sun and the moon together cause this electrostatic flow and cause the tides. That's why there's only tides in salt water.
Neil, you had a question?
You showed earlier on a map that Antarctica surrounded and kept the water in. Is there anything beyond Antarctica? Is there anything beyond that?
So
Or is that like the final frontier?
it's one of my favorite things to talk about, but I always have to preface it by saying we do not need to go beyond 60 degrees south where we're not allowed to go to prove that the Earth is flat. We can prove it. We can prove it here. We can prove it with where are we going here? We can prove it ourselves just by measurements of the Earth. So what is beyond? So here, this is basically the flat Earth map that was used all the way up to 1945 or through 1945. I am just looking for something here. This is called an old map. I forget the name of it. They're Ubuntu map or something like that, and it's showing all of this this land out here. We don't know what's out here, but this map here, if I could find it, where is it? I'm looking for another one, but here's speculation that we live here. This is Antarctica. This opening here might be one reason why they never let anybody go over here. And then this would be more land out here. And it could have its own sun out here also, its small local sun. So let me ask you a question. If there was more land out here and somebody lived here and they came to visit us, what might they be considered? An extraterrestrial, extra terra, extra land from the outer space? The outer space right here on Earth, right? There's a lot of evidence that there is more land out there. It could be something like this, right? And if you really want to speculate, it could be something more like this, right? We live here at the center of this little pond. This is our local pond. And out here are other ponds called Mars and Pluto and all these different names. There's 178 worlds in our known universe. And they're all within hundreds of thousands of miles, not ridiculous, incomprehensible space light years, right? A light year is ridiculous.
Dave, we're going to have to wrap it up with because of the bell.
FlatEarthDave.com. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the time.
Thank you, Dave, for presenting to us. Yeah, it was good. I thought there were a lot of good questions. Kids definitely are very curious. So
you need to watch Old World Order on my website. All right.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
You will watch it. It'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
don't plan on making friends with the history teacher afterwards.
So, well, but it sounds like, but everything's going well with you. I know I asked you in the beginning there, so it sounds like you're really busy.
Yeah, I am. It's really taken off. More and more people are waking up. There's almost 200,000 people on the Friend Finder, and it's just beginning. We're having a big conference in Texas next year. It hasn't been announced yet, but we're working on the details. It's going to be a big Old World and Flat Earth conference in Texas. It's going to be massive.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's good. That'll be interesting to hear, what comes out of that.
Yep.
So we just and then yeah, you'll enjoy this class too. You'll have a lot of good questions. So yeah, I emailed our science department to let them know that you're presenting. I haven't seen any teachers yet. But,
they're not going to come. They can't. It's like you can't.
So it's very interesting what's your take on Elon Musk and what he's trying to do?
Well, the fact that Elon is faking space is kind of tells the whole story, but then he does stuff where he's bringing back it's all a show. Elon's part of the show. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because there seems to be a renewed interest in space travel, but I wonder how much of that you would say is that's just NASA, marketing.
I will show. I will. Yeah, absolutely. It's all marketing. It's all nonsense. Elon's going to Mars, so I'll show an Elon thing on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and then I know you're also presenting to class over at.
Yep.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're able to get into both schools there. So, when are you talking with his classes?
I don't know. It's after this. It's in my schedule somewhere. I got a lot of interviews lined up. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, well, it gives you a chance to talk with both schools there. All right, let me go take attendance real quick here. The bell's about to ring, and then we'll get started. The last class. Wesley. So regarding the journal, I'm going to get turned right over to Flat Earth Dave. He's going to share for a bit, so a lot of the class is going to be driven by questions. So that's what we'll be doing. So let me just flip the screen around so that way he can see you. Everybody say hi to Flat Earth Dave.
All right. So how many of you, now I asked the last class, how many of you think the Earth is a globe? And then almost everyone raised their hand. So it could be that maybe those people that were questioning it were afraid to raise their hand. So let me ask you this. How many of you have looked into the flat Earth concept? Raise your hand. Nothing. One. Okay, you got 1, 2, 3. Okay, nice. All right, got a few. Awesome. The problem is when you look into flat Earth, Google's going to feed you as much nonsense as you can handle until the point where you give up. It's going to be hard to find anything. It's highly censored. And the question is, why would they censor such a stupid topic, right? And one of the things I say is if the Earth was a globe, there would be no flat Earthers. But there is now millions and millions and millions of us across the Earth, and it's growing faster and faster. And nobody that sees it ever leaves it. All right? That doesn't make it a cult. It just makes it a truth. Because once you see the truth, once you see the light, you can no longer deny it. The question is, why does it matter? I still have to go to school on Monday. What difference does the shape of the Earth make? And it makes all the difference in the world, because if you believe you live on a globe, you believe in lack. You believe in shortages. You believe in catastrophes like an asteroid hitting the Earth. You believe there's a lot that comes with the globe. A lot of fear, a lot of shortage, a lot of lack, and a lot of giving up of your rights to let the government, break down the word government, govern is to control and ment is the mind, right? You give it up to them willingly because they're not allowed to take it from you. You have to willingly give up your free will in order for them to take it. And they know this. You don't, is what the problem is. Okay. When I say you, I'm talking about the whole world, not just you guys. You guys are seniors in high school. You're going to college. You got a lot on your mind. And the last thing you want to do is spend your free time in learning and researching something which is the opposite of that you've been taught your entire life, right? You've been taught, since before you can talk, that the Earth is a globe, right? You've been taught your entire life. Like Sesame Street was showing you astronauts and globes and everything, right? This is a clip from Sesame Street, right? And this is something called Revelation of the Method. What do we see here? We see a globe and a rocket in the fiction section. They're always telling us the truth, right? A globe and a rocket in the fiction section. That is not just a by chance, right? It is a truth, right? Seen from The Simpsons, right? You got the globe scams, right? Globe scams. You can't watch a movie without finding a globe in it. Why is that? There's actually government agencies that pay movies millions of dollars to help them do their set their set, putting items in their sets, right? They want you to think that this is what a cult leader looks like, when the truth is this is what a cult leader looks like, right? Because I'm going to ask you guys when I'm done, I'm going to keep my presentation short. I'm going to go to your questions. My questions for you is, why do you think the Earth is a globe? Why do you think the Earth is a globe? And in the last class, I showed a bunch of NASA fails where they had green screens, wires, augmented reality, where they're faking space. Not going to show that again here. But I am going to show a lot of people are big fans of Elon Musk. And I'm going to show a rocket. Now, if I didn't tell you this was an actual Elon rocket, you would think it was a B-rated movie and you want your money back, right? So I cut it up, but nothing's out of order. So this rocket is going to go to Mars. By the way, you can drive a Mack truck under here. This thing is supposedly so huge, okay? So think about this. This thing weighs tens of tons. And this little flame, and watch it, edit, back and forth, back and forth. This little flame is just going to lift it up in the air, right? And look, edit. We've had 4 edits, 5 edits, right? How fast is this thing actually going? Now, look, the flame is already burning out. Now we have this shot, looks pretty high. Now it's kind of pretty low. Now look at the smoke. Use your judgment. How fast is it going? Oh, it's pretty high all of a sudden, right? Now it's falling. The engines are off. This thing weighs 10 tons. It's free falling. Now watch after the edit, the speed of the smoke. Ready? Look at the speed of the smoke. Is this free falling? What is this? What are we looking at? How are we filming it from the side? Whoa, look how high it is now. You can almost see the curve of the Earth, right? Now it's free falling. How are we getting a side view from the ground if it's that high? It's free falling. Now it's all of a sudden, look how high it is again, right? Look how high it is. Now watch. 3 engines are going to go on. It's magically going to turn upright. It's going to be an edit. The cameraman's going to get underneath. Here comes the edit. Cameraman's underneath. 2 of the 3 engines are going to burn out, and it's going to land with a whole bunch of CGI smoke. Look, 1 off-center engine, and ready. Here comes the CGI smoke, and it lands upright. Do you think that's real? Do you think that's real? That can't be real. Ask any engineer. That is not real. Most people just deny and say, well, that's not really an Elon Musk rocket, but it is. You can go verify it yourself. By the way, do not believe anything I tell you today. I want you to go verify everything yourself. The problem is most of you won't, because it's just it takes time. It takes effort, right? Here's one. I call this the Tupac rocket, right? The Tupac hologram rocket. If you know who Tupac is, he was a rap singer who died, and then they brought him on stage as a hologram afterwards. So this rocket goes up. This is a live feed from SpaceX, Elon Musk. And all of a sudden, watch right here. Watch what happens. Ready? 1, 2, 3. This is a CGI rocket, and watch what happens. Oh, disappears. We'll zoom in. Okay. This is showing you that they're using camera tricks. They're using total camera tricks. And that's it. I mean, once you understand that, actually, we were using Google Earth, and we're going around SpaceX and NASA's site, and we saw these weird spotlight things, and we looked at them. We're trying to figure out what they were, and we got a serial number, and we looked it up, and it was from a holographic projection company. Why do they have holographic projection lights on the ground? These crazy looking boxes, these huge boxes, right? So interesting. So when there's rocket launches, there's different types of rocket launches. Fake CGI ones that never happen, that are just on computer screens. Helium rockets. Guess who controls 99% of the helium in the world? NASA. And NASA now is admitting that they use helium to help get their rockets into the sky. The truth is, all of those rockets that actually go up, the space shuttle included, were filled with helium. They're just big balloons with some fake little rockets on the bottom, right? And I don't know, you guys are too young to remember, but in 1986, the challenge probably weren't around. Challenger disaster happened, and it blew up. The Challenger space shuttle blew up, and it had like a school teacher on board. I'm sure you heard about it and stuff. Out of those 7 astronauts, 6 of them are still alive. 6 of them are still alive. How can that be if it blew up in the sky? Again, what I'm showing you here is NASA, SpaceX, and all of the agencies. They all work together. It's all to deceive you, to make you believe that you're an insignificant speck living on an insignificant speck in an insignificant spiral galaxy in a gigantic, ever-expanding universe. When the truth is, we are at the center of creation. We have incredible power, and they don't want us to know it. And so they're literally taking that away from us, and we're giving it to them willingly. Because people say, well, what difference does it make? The shape of the earth, there's nothing I can do about it. I still have to go to school on Monday. I still have to go to work on Monday, and I'm only one person. That's not true. One person in the truth is more powerful than a million liars, right? So once you see it, everything changes for you. I want you to remember my website, flatearthdave.com. And there's some videos on there. You scroll down, you'll see Crash Course. You'll see a big picture of me, and it says Crash Course. Turn off Netflix for a couple days and watch those videos. They're fascinating. And I guarantee if you watch the first 3, you're finished. You'll never believe in the globe again. But again, belief is the enemy of knowing. Belief is the lazy man's knowing. You need to verify. But we've done the work for you. We've put the videos together, but Google's hiding it all from you. You won't find it by Googling it, by looking on YouTube, by listening to their suggestions. If I send you a video about circumnavigation or on a flat earth or something, the next video that pops up will be an anti-flat earth video supplied by YouTube. Real quick, the just so you get an idea of what flat earth is, this is not flat earth. This is what they want you to think flat earth is, right? Flat earth is not a disk floating in space, but if you Google it, that's what you're going to find. And, no flat earther thinks that we're a pancake and the rest are spheres or the rest are all pancakes. We don't believe in a heliocentric system. We don't believe in a space vacuum, which is scientifically impossible. We don't believe in flat pizza planets, but they want you to believe that's what we believe in, right? They don't want you to know. They don't want you to know that this is what we believe. That the shoreline of our oceans that contain our oceans, large bodies of water at rest, lie flat, and need containment, is Antarctica. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth by over double any other continent. That would make sense. Think of a lake in Kansas, 100 miles wide, right? You're on that lake, right? And you can sail around the center. That would be circling east and west. This is going west, right? Comes around, it's going west. Go this way, east, because the north is the center. And if you go away from the north in any direction, that would be south, right? Away from the north. This is what people don't get. Let me just get right here. Where is it? There it is. So I got a magnet here. You guys can do this. Draw a little flat earth map. Put a magnet at the center. I got my compass that's pointing to the north, and I try to push it west. I have to keep turning. West, 270 degrees west, is a circle around the center. So I can go west, right? And then I can also go east, 90 degrees east. As I go, I got to keep turning because the compass always has to point towards the center. So I can go all the way around and say I circumnavigated this flat map, therefore it's a sphere. Because that's what they want you to believe. Now, if I try to dead reckon west, so I line up my compass, I say, okay, west is that direction, and I follow that stick, the compass turns and I'm heading south. I'm immediately heading south. South is every direction away from the center. Here's the funny thing. Billions of people have circumnavigated the world east and west. 0 have done it south. 0. Why is that? Why isn't? Well, they say, well, it's too cold over Antarctica. It's there's no place to pick you up. 0 have done it. 0 have done it. It's because the Earth is flat and it can't be done. So the question is, why can't a plane fly from Santiago? Even just go around here, go all the way over to Australia. That would be the shortest route, wouldn't you agree? Shortest route on a flat Earth Oh no, on a globe Earth, sorry, would be that would be that route straight across. But let's take a look at the actual flight routes, how they go. Where is it? Second here. Where is it? New Zealand. Yeah, we'll do this one. So here is we want to go from New Zealand, which is right next to Australia. We want to go over to South America. This is what they call as the Great Circle Route, would be the shortest trip on a ball, right? Seems pretty short. Do you think they go that way? Nope. They go from New Zealand up across the equator to San Francisco, then across the United States to Texas, and then back down to Argentina. Doesn't that seem a little bit out of the way? Let's look at it on a flat Earth. New Zealand, San Francisco, Houston, Texas, Argentina. There's 1,000 examples like this. 1,000, right? You guys watch the World Cup? World Cup was in Doha. The team won. They had their own plane, their private plane. They want to go back to Buenos Aires. They went to Rome first to get fuel. Kind of seems out of the way, right? And then they went there. But looking at a flat Earth map, Doha, Rome, ocean, Buenos Aires, straight line. There's tons of these, tons, right? This one from Montevideo to Perth, they go from here all the way up to Los Angeles, down Sydney, and then to Perth. But if you look at it on a flat Earth map, they go across Australia, pretty straight, pretty direct flight. This makes no sense. Why wouldn't they just go across here? Right? Sydney to Peru, right? A lot of people want to go from Sydney to Peru. They got to go all the way up to Los Angeles. Look at it on a flat Earth. It makes no sense. You would never, ever cross the equator going from one southern location to another or from any northern location to another. And guess what? There are no flights from any northern location to any other northern locations that ever cross the equator because you're always inside this circle. Why would you ever need to cross the equator to get to any spot? But sometimes in the south, the correctest, the fastest route would be here. But if the Earth was a globe, you would never need to come up from the bottom half of the ball. You just go wherever you want underneath the ball, right? So flight routes alone prove that the Earth is flat. This is the map that was in all schools. This is the Gleason's map. It's the map that's used for navigation. It's the map that autopilots use. It's the map that actually works. The globe map doesn't work. I'll show you one more thing. I'm going to go to questions because we're going to run out of time before I know it. And I just showed this in the last class, but I want to show it a little. I showed it to one guy, I think. This is, so think about this. If you have a ball in a dark room and you have a single source light on the other side of the room, a sun, how much of that ball can be lit by the sun? Anybody? What percentage of the ball can be lit by that sun at any one time? Speak up.
They said 50%.
50%, correct. What if I tilted the ball or spun the ball, right? It's still 50%, no matter what. You have a single source light, it's lighting up half the ball, no matter how I turn it. How I show you here, you can only see half the ball, right? You can only see half the ball no matter what. So your common sense, logic, science will tell you that that you can only see half the ball, right? So here is on this is the Weather Channel showing you on this day of the year, 70% of the Earth is lit by the sun. How can that be? If the Earth is a globe, how can that be? Because they're basing it on what continents are in the light at that time, right? So take a look here. So this is on August 13th. We have all of America's lit, all of South America's lit, Africa's lit, Europe, Russia. The only thing that's not lit is basically Australia and these islands over here. Okay. The rest of the world is in sunlight at the same time. Greenland, right? Forget that this map is distorted. It's just showing you what's lit. So now let's look at our flat Earth map. So the sun was right over, right there. And so if we take a sun and we lift it up, we say, okay, if the sun is a light above the Earth, look at that. Look at that. South America's in the light. Everything's in the light except Australia and these islands, just like time and date is showing us. This is possible on a flat Earth. The ball is impossible to light up 70% of a ball with a single source light. Now let's look at it as we go. Let's get a globe and let's get a spotlight. We'll put it in a dark room and we'll see where it goes. So we got the light here. There's Australia, and we're putting Australia right in the dark. So Australia is in the dark. And we'll walk around to the other side. And where's South America? It's in the dark. South America's in the dark. Watch, we'll spin the globe out. Give it a second. So we'll spin the globe out. South America is in the dark, and so is America. So we'll get America in the light. South America's in the light, just like time and date shows. And we go over here, and all of Russia and some of Europe and everything else is all of this is in the dark. All of that's in the dark. And it shouldn't be. So the globe is provably wrong. And the flat Earth actually works. That works according to reality. And the globe does not work. Let's go to your questions.
Cosmer starts off.
What inspired you to pursue this idea?
Well, I actually was doing a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, where we looked into a lot of deceptions in the world from, I don't have to get into them because that's a whole nother class, but there's a lot of deceptions. And we dove deep and did lots of research. I've made documentaries on, I don't want to take us on a tangent, so I'm not going to mention them right now. But people in the third year of the podcast said, Dave, have you ever looked into flat Earth? And immediately I just deleted them. And then they kept coming and on our social media, and I blocked them, and you're banned for life. And finally, another researcher said, Dave, you got to look into this flat Earth thing, and sent me some videos. And I didn't look at them saying, okay, let me check these out. I looked at them saying, let me disprove these. Let me just prove the Earth is a globe because it's so stupid. I know it's a globe. And I tried for 2 weeks to disprove them. And at the end of that 2 weeks, I'm like, something's going on here. 10 years later, here I am talking to you guys. I know for a fact the Earth is not a globe. Absolutely. There's plenty that we don't know about the flat Earth, but globe believers think they know everything, and they actually know nothing. If I asked you guys how fast is the Earth spinning at the equator, how fast is it spinning in Australia, how fast is it orbiting the sun, what's the diameter of the Earth, what's the distance of the sun, how did they figure out that distance? If I asked you any of those questions, you wouldn't know any of them because you're not taught these things. Because if you were, you might start thinking about them and say, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. They want you to believe, because if you believe that you live on a spinning ball and you're a speck in an infinite expanding universe spanning at 1 billion miles an hour or a minute or whatever they say it is, you believe that you're insignificant and that you have no power. That's what they want to do to you. They don't want you to think. Most classes, not this one, teach you what to think, not how to think. This class is giving you an opportunity to take your time and learn some new things. On my website, flatearthdave.com, start with Old World Order. There's a video on there. Turn off Netflix. Watch that video. It's a big banner. Old World Order. Just watch that. And then go down to where you see a big picture of me. It says Crash Course. There's a whole bunch of videos that Google's hiding from you. Watch the first 3. If you do that, you will be a flat earther. Questions?
Let me get Wesley here. You had your hand up next.
Yes, I have 2 questions. So my first question is regarding latitude and longitude. What happens to those if the globe isn't round?
Yeah. What about longitude and latitude?
Yeah. So latitude and longitude is very easy. So 90 degrees north is under the North Star, and as you go out, you're going to your southern latitude. So you go out to 0 degrees. So the equator is 0, the red line. then it goes all the way to 90, and then it goes out here all the way to 90. Right? So there's your latitudes. And then longitudes are just the time zones. Here's something interesting. You guys know what time zones are, right? So the Earth is spinning, and time zones are the lateral lines that go from the North Pole to the South Pole, right? They go time zones, right? You got 24 time zones, kind of like sections in an orange, and as it spins, wherever the sun is, it's noon. So, if it's noon here, it's 11 a.m. here, and 10 a.m. and 7 a.m., whatever, 10, 9, 8, 7, right? And so you got your 24 time zones. That makes sense on a globe, right? Makes perfect sense on a globe, right? Because the sun's so far away, they're coming in parallel. You got the equator right here. The sunlight's coming in parallel. And so all along here is the same time zone. And then you got all your sections going around, right? The problem is they tell us that the Earth is tilted. So the time zones actually don't make sense. There would be 2 or 3 time zones off because of the tilt. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that's not how many time zones there are. In the north, there's 19 time zones. What happened to the other 4, 5, right? In the tropics, there's 24 time zones. That makes sense. And in the outer south, there's 32 time zones. How is that possible on a globe? This is a fact. These are the time zones, but they're all out in places in the middle of the water. You don't know about them, right? And they don't want you to know, that this time zone thing doesn't work, right? This time zone thing, right? These are the time zones, but remember, the Earth is tilted. The Earth is tilted, so it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But just remember, 19 in the north and 32 in the south. Next.
We get Ike and then Jake.
So like, how the sun is a circle, right? Like, what do you think the sun is?
Great question. I don't think the sun is a physical object at all. I think it's a focus point of energy. Remember when you used to burn ants with a magnifying glass? I know you did. Admit it. Okay. So you got that point of light. Lift the magnifying glass up a foot. That point of light is still there. It's just in the air. Blow some fog or some mist in there, and you'll see it that it's there. I think that the sun that we see is a focal point of energy through the firmament, or the dome, if you will, and it's a focal point that we all see based on our own position. There's on my app here, and anybody that has an Android phone, if you email me at dave@flatearthdave.com, I'll give you the app for free. So just remember that. Email me, say, hey, I'm from the class. I wanna look at your app. But on the frequently asked questions page, there's the where does the sun go section right here. And there's tons of information showing you, how the sun moves and how it makes more sense on a flat Earth as a local light.
Yeah, so like the flight patterns, like wouldn't it make sense on a flat Earth that they're like straight because they have to use the curvature to like go straight?
You have to use the curvature to go straight. Can you explain that?
You have to like go in a curve in order to go straight at something on a globe.
Yeah.
Like,
I know what you're saying. So
well, but the southern flights make absolutely no sense. For example, right here is the great circle route from California to Heathrow. Right, it goes up, it goes through Newfoundland, touches Greenland, and it goes down. Right, that's kind of weird. I kind of think it would go this way, but this is just a distorted map. That's right. On a flat Earth map, it's a straight line. Newfoundland, Greenland, straight line. It's interesting that every convoluted flight in the south that I showed you before is a straight line on a flat Earth map. Every flight is a straight flight on a flat Earth map. But the northern flights aren't that much difference on a globe Earth and a flat Earth. The farther south you go, the worse they get. There's no northern flights that cross the equator, but all long distance southern flights do cross the equator, or most of them, depending on where you're going.
Let me get Sam and Thomas. I'm going to start working that way then.
What do you think about like other planets? Like, what are those in the flat Earth thing?
Yeah, so the only thing you know about planets is from NASA and Disney. And if you talk to the class before this, they'll show you that I was showing how NASA is faking everything. Are these planets or the bottoms of frying pans? Can anybody tell me?
What?
Are those planets from NASA or are those the bottoms of frying pans? It's a question. Anybody want to take a guess? Here's the thing is you don't know. If NASA said they were planets, you would believe them. I'm telling you they're frying pans. You can Google bottoms of frying pans that look like planets and you'll get those same pictures. All right. This is from NASA. This is supposedly Jupiter in 2022, right? In 2014, they got this famous picture of Jupiter. And then in 2016, they go, oh, look, we have the northern lights that proves there's a magnetic core, right? Look at this. Could you guys do this? You don't even need Photoshop to do this. You could do this in MS Paint, right? But look, all of these clouds are exactly the same. All this storm, right? These clouds that are supposedly moving and fluid are exactly the same over 2 years apart. 2 years apart. This is in a NASA studio. NASA owns the largest green screen studio in the world. Why? Okay, why? You have to ask yourself these questions. These are things you're not going to be taught, right? These are things that they don't want you to they don't want you to see. They don't want you to know, right? I showed this to the other class. What planet is this? Quick, anybody? Anybody? Mars, Jupiter, Venus? Jupiter. It's actually a meadow with ducks in it. All right. Because I suggested it was a planet, you guys saw a planet. So, and this was not even that good, right? If I left it there long enough, you'd be like, wait a minute. But the thing is, they can show you anything. And the nonsense that they show you is unbelievable. Let me show you what they just came out with yesterday. Just yesterday, right? So they said, this is a new planet. There's a new planet that's in our solar system that they can't quite see yet. So it's past Pluto, right? But they want you to believe that they can see a black hole that has no light coming out of it more than 1 billion light years away. You guys know how far 1 billion light years is? Because I don't, right? 3.7 billion miles is how far Pluto is, right? That's 5.5 light hours. Supposedly it takes light 5.5 hours to get from Pluto. So let's say that planet was almost double that. We'll call it 10 light hours away. I don't think it's that far away. They can't see something 10 light hours away, but they could see something 100 billion, a billion light years away or whatever it was. Okay. Right. And look at Pluto. This is the latest picture of Pluto. What does it look like? What does this look like? Anybody? Can anybody see what this shape is? Does this look like anything Disney? Right?
Oh my God.
That's an actual NASA photo. Right? 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 This is NASA. 140. There's a water galaxy 140 trillion times all of the water in the Earth's ocean. 140 trillion times. Imagine if it was 1 trillion Earth oceans, not 140, just 1 trillion. Does anybody know how big a trillion is? How long is 1 trillion seconds? Anybody, take a guess. If you guess it within a year, you win a Bitcoin.
100 years.
100 years, very close. 31,000 years. Okay. Think about that. 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. Right? This is 140 trillion times all of the water. How come it doesn't turn into a friggin' planet? Why wouldn't gravity pull it together? How do you have water in a space vacuum? How do you have dust in a space vacuum? How do you have gas in a vacuum? You guys take any physics? Gas violently fills the available space, except in space, it collapses upon itself and burns forever and becomes stars and holds on to planets. And nebulas start producing other stars and spitting them out like ping pong ball machine. And somehow those stars go find their spot and sit somewhere in the universe. Why don't they all just collapse upon each other? I mean, they tell you stuff that's so complicated. You go, oh, I'm not an astrophysics professor. I can't figure this out. You're not stupid. It's stupid. That's why you can't figure it out. Okay. That's why you can't figure it out. They don't want you thinking. They don't want you understanding your true power.
We got
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
we got about 10 minutes. I know we have a couple of hands, so
Go
I'll
ahead.
make sure.
Next.
Thomas, you're next, and then Kate.
All right. So how do you explain like the stars that we see in the sky, or like the craters in the Earth that they say are from like meteors?
Yeah, so there's only 200 craters in the Earth, and they're all perfect circles. So whenever you see like a asteroid, you know, in Russia caught on a dash cam, they're all coming in at these crazy angles, right? They all come in at these ridiculous angles, and you never see that they would all have to hit at perfectly straight angles. But if you look at trying to find it here, asteroids, meteor, there we go. Let me just say they make no sense on they make no sense. So you guys have ever seen meteor showers, right? The meteors are all coming down. So I'm here in the north, I'm watching them come down. But what about here? I'd be watching them go up. No one has ever seen a meteor go up, right? So if South America is seeing meteors come down, North America would be seeing meteors go up. But no one has ever seen that, ever, right? So here's some craters, right? This is a volcano. This is a geyser. This is a sinkhole, sulfur pocket, right? They're just calling these things craters, right? They're just calling them craters. Here is a this is the in Russia, someone caught this meteor going down and it caused explosion and broke windows. That doesn't look like it's coming straight down that would make a gash in the earth. That would make a super gash in the earth, right? So I have a video. Oh yeah. So this was caught out in New Mexico, right? It's got these meteors. Those are supposedly meteors coming in, but these are these planes testing out, shooting these weapons. This fireworks display, if you will. This is all you're seeing. These are military objects that they're shooting and going, oh, that's a meteor. Looks similar? It doesn't look similar. It looks exactly the same. So those are planes shooting these things down to deceive you, to make you think you're an insignificant speck living on an insignificant ball floating through a gigantic diluted universe. I'll go to the next question, but the last thing is go to my website, flatearthdave.com, turn off Netflix for the weekend and watch some of those videos on the crash course. You'll see a big picture of me, crash course, and watch Old World Order. If you do that, you're going to have a new spark of life put in you, and you're going to be like bringing your friends over to, well, let's watch another one. Let's watch another one. Let's watch another one, because it's going to change your life if you do it. Next.
So you keep saying they, like, as in they don't want us to know stuff. Who is they?
Yeah, who are they? Who are they? Well, they are the controllers of this world, and you know we know the politicians and stuff, but they're all just puppets for the real controllers of the world, and we don't know who they are. You know, we don't know who the real controllers of the world is. I think they live on lands beyond Antarctica, right? This is the world. You know, if you live on a globe, it's literally a prison for your mind. It's a prison for your mind. Right? 1% control the world, 4% are puppets, 90% are asleep, 5% know what's going on and are trying to wake up the 90%. That might be me. And 1% don't want the 5% waking up the 90%. Those are the controllers that we see. Okay. So who are they? You know, why the lie? Those are all good questions, but you know, we can look at the power structure of the world. We got the Council of Foreign Relations, the United Nations, the Bilderberg Group, the Club of Rome, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, and the Trilateral Commission. I'd be surprised if you guys have heard of all of these or any of these, okay? But you should know all of them, because these are the people that are running your lives. They're unelected. They're unelected people that are ruling all of the countries.
Let's get Josh and then Lauren.
What about the horizons?
The horizons, or what? Like boats over the horizon and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the horizon is the horizontal eye zone, horizon, right? The horizon. So if we look at let's look at some boats over the horizon, right? So is that whoops, not what I want to show you. Give me a second. So is that the edge of the earth? Is it? I mean, it kind of looks like it could be, right? But is that the edge of the earth? I got a boat floating out there. Is he floating up, or is he just literally on reflective water? There's land back here, so you can actually put it together. But when you're looking out at the ocean, it gets to the point where you're just seeing the sky reflected, and it's called your horizontal eye zone, right? So here's a ship out here. One I want to show you. Hold on. This is what I want to show you. This one. Hold on. So this is what I call the wave front edge. You don't see these boats until I zoom in. All of a sudden, here are these boats. But is that the edge of the earth? Because look, what are they going behind? Is that behind the curve of the earth? Or is it just behind a closer swell of water? Look at this guy, right? You see this as your horizon for terrestrial boats, lands, terrestrial objects. The celestial objects, the sun, the stars, the moon, that's behind a whole nother horizon, which is thousands of feet above your eye level, but it appears to be at eye level. Okay. On my app. By the way, anyone, did I say this yet? Anybody that wants the app for free, it's for Android, email me at dave@flatearthdave.com. Say you're in this class. I'll give you a free download. And there's a section in the frequently asked questions says, where does the sun go? Boats over the horizon. If you watch that, you'll understand how that works, right?
Lauren?
What about like telescopes when you like look through them and see planets?
Yeah, so the funny thing is we can zoom in on the moon and make it in focus, then we can zoom past the moon, make it out of focus. We can zoom before the moon, make it out of focus, zoom back into the moon, make it in focus. We can do the same with stars. We can do the same with planets. The funny thing is when you look at any one of those and then swing the telescope to the other one, it's in focus. They're all at the same focus for some reason. Why is that? Why is that at all? So let me ask you guys a question. They don't teach you much about this because if they did, you would start questioning it, right? The question I have is, why? What do all the planets go around? They go around the Earth. They go around the sun, right? So what does you guys know what our North Star is, right? Our North Star is Polaris, and it is supposedly lined up with the axis of our spin. So the Earth is spinning, and the pole of our Earth points towards Polaris, and Polaris never moves. Even though we're moving 4.5 billion miles a year chasing the sun, moving 183 million miles on each side of the sun every 6 months, it always points towards Polaris because Polaris is so far away, right? That's what they want you to believe. Right. So here's an unscaled model of our solar system. Right. And if we look at we zoom in here and here's Earth. And so Polaris would be right up there. All right. Now, are all of their poles pointing towards Polaris? No, they're not. They're pointing in different directions. Like each one of these, like Neptune is pointing almost at the sun, Jupiter, Mars, they're all pointing in different directions is what I'm pointing out here. Okay. So the question is, why is it that all of the planets circle Polaris? This is Polaris, and these are the paths of Mercury, Venus, Mars, right? These are all perfectly circling Polaris. The sun, the moon, Halley's Comet, and all the planets and all the stars circle Polaris. How is that possible? How is it possible that all of the stars are moving in their own binary orbits? 80% of them are orbiting our binary or trinary orbits, going around each other, going around the universe. And for billions of years, the stars have never changed positions. Never have you seen, due to parallax, two stars move. Like a far one and a close one that are moving, they should change positions. Never once has that ever happened. That's because the stars are small and they're fixed in the firmament above us. They are spinning. We are staying stationary. We're moving. We're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting at 66,000 miles an hour, chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour. All of those are curved trajectories, and curving is acceleration. If you're in a car going 100 miles an hour, okay, you don't feel it. That car slows up, speeds down, or takes the slightest turn, you're going to feel it, right? You have a dinner plate of water. The car takes the slightest turn. The water's off the plate, okay? We're traveling in all these different curves, and we can't feel any of it. It's nonsense. Check out my app. I encourage you, any of you that have Android phones, get the free app. It's on iOS too, but I'd have to pay for it, so I'm not going to do that. And research.
Yeah, David, thank you for taking time out to present to us. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the bell's about to ring. So, yeah. What, you want to come up here, Wesley? You have a student who has a question. You still have students with questions.
Yep.
He's eager to talk to you.
What is beyond Antarctica?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We don't know, but there is lots of evidence that there are other continents beyond Antarctica. Again, it doesn't have to, we don't have to go beyond Antarctica to prove the Earth is flat. But personally, some people believe that the dome terminates in the outer lands of Antarctica. Other people think that there are more lands, more ponds, if you will. Think of us as a pond. Let me show you here. I go on the app, I go to images, I type in maps, right? So some people think that maybe the Earth is set up like this, right? We live here in the center. This white ring is Antarctica, and these are extra lands, extra territory, extra terra, extraterrestrials from where? The outer space, out here. And then if you want to take it a step farther, right? What if we lived here in the center? This is us. This is our super pond. And just 100,000 miles away, 50,000 miles, 20,000 miles away, whatever it is, there's other ponds, which are other pieces of the plane or a planet, if you will, right? And these are other worlds out here. On my app, or you can just find on Amazon, there's a book section on the app. And if you go to More Land, there's a book called The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Wall right here. Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Wall. Watch it. Easy read. Amazing. Blow your mind. Right?
All right.
All right, man.
Thank you.
You got it.
Okay. A lot of good questions. Kids definitely were, we could have kept going too because, there were a lot more hands.
Yep.
So we'll see. I already had one student ask about your app. So
tell them if they get the app, all their questions are answered in the FAQ section. They're all there.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing again. As I said, kids look forward to it. And as usual, we'll have some journals that will be coming out. Is your mailing address the same?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm sure you'll be getting copies of the journals there. So.
All right.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks. And watch those. You need to watch a couple of those videos, right? We've been doing this long enough. I'm requiring you to watch Old World Order and a couple of the videos in the crash course.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Will do. Take care. Bye-bye.